We're up to Daf Lamed Zayin Yoma Daf for the Mishnah. Okay, the Mishnah says, you went then to the east side of the courtyard. So you have the Beis Hamikdash is on the west side. You come in from the east side. You turn right, it's north. You turn left, it's south. And according to this Mishnah here, the Mizbeach is on the south side, is on the left side, on the south side. So now, you're taking the animal with you. Hasgan Miyaminoi, the deputy is standing on his right side. The Rosh base of Mismailoi, and the head of the family of Kainim is on the left side. The Sham Shnei Seidim, there were two goats, right? One goat is going to become a karmachatas, and the other goat is going to be thrown off the cliff. The Kalpi Haisasham, there was a box, a wooden box that they had there. They're going to draw a lottery. Ubo Shnei Gorolis, they had in there two blocks of little pieces, we'll soon see, that they had written on it one chatas, and one of them had written on it Azazel. Shal Ashkarai was made out of a certain kind of wood. And then later on, Va'asan ben Gamla Shal Zav. If you remember, there was a woman, Marta Basbaisus, who paid into the coffers of the Beis Hamikdash that her husband, Yeshua ben Gamla, should be appointed as a Kohen and Kohen Gadol. So there's a whole debate who this Yeshua ben Gamla was, because on the one hand, it sounded like he bought the position, he was corrupt. On the other hand, he was a good person. He started the education system that we have today. We're going to learn a little more about Basra in the second parak. And he also donated to the Beis Hamikdash Shel Zav. He decided that the lottery, the things that they use for lottery should be made out of gold. Should be made out of gold. And they mentioned his name and praised him. So, according to some Rishonim, this is not the same Yeshua ben Gamla that bought his way in to the Kahuna, because why would they praise him? Others say it was, but he was still a good person. The problem was there were people who might have been more suitable, but he ended up turned out all right. There was another Kohen Gadol, his name is Ben Kotin. Also, in the Kiyar, that basin where they used to wash the hands, it had two taps. It had a taps on the top, and it had a tap on the bottom. They used to wash the hands and the feet, the right hand, the right foot, and the left hand, and the left foot. And there was only two, enough for two people. What he did was, Asa Yud Beis Dod Likir, he made 12 taps. And why? Because there's a total of 12 people involved in the carbon tamid, and he wanted that all 12 kohanim should wash their hands simultaneously. There actually was a 13th person, the one who shechted the animal, but he was not part of it. He didn't have to be a kohen, could have been Israel. It only had two, and he made 12. Ba'af also he made muchni lekir. Well, he also made a wheel, like a pulley system for the kiyar, so that they can lower it every night into the canal, into the spring, so that the water of the kiyar joins the water of the spring. So there's no problem of something sitting inside a vessel of Beis Hamikdash overnight doing nothing, because that's possible. It's called lina. But over here, what he used to do is he used to empty out the kiyar and fill it up every morning. So he made this pulley system. They just lowered the barrel into the kiyar into the spring. So it joined together the water of the spring, and then they raised it every morning. So he didn't want that the water should become disqualified because it was there overnight. Munbuz HaMelech, another person called Munbuz HaMelech, big debate as to who he was. He decided that all the handles of the vessels that were used on Yom Kippur should be made shalzav of gold. We'll talk later more about the vessels themselves. Heloni Ima, his mother, Heloni Amalka. So many say that they were converts. Not sure, or they're from the family of Chashmonaim. Heloni, his mother, Osisa. What she went ahead, she did was Nivresha Shilzav. She made a menorah out of gold, and she put that on Pesach Heichel, the entrance to the Beis Hamikdash. But he also, she also did something else. Tavla Shilzav. They had to, for a Saita, which you're reading about this week's Parsha, they had to write every time all the psukim. So that if the Saita refuses to admit she did anything wrong, and maybe she didn't, so they would write these psukim, put it into a bowl of water with some of the dust from the Mishkan, or the Beis Hamikdash, and they would put these parchments into the water, and Hashem's name would get erased. And and they would pull out a Sefer Torah and copy from the Torah the psukim. So she decided, why pull out a whole Sefer Torah? So she made golden plates, and on these plaques, they wrote down the psukim. So they would use these golden plaques to record the psukim that were necessary for a Saita. Parsha Saita Ksuvale, the Parsha Saita was written there. And what's a Nicanor, there's another person called Nicanor. They say he was an East Tzaddik, but we don't know much about him. Naasu Nisim of miracles happened with the doors that he donated to the Beis Hamikdash. All of the people in this Mishnah are all mentioned in a good way, because tomorrow we're going to learn another Mishnah of a number of families that we despise. We actually learned this in Masechta Shkolim, in the 5th parak. Says the Gemara. First, let's start at the beginning of Mishnah. You say that this is on the north side of the Mizbeach. So it sounds like that the animal was not between the Mizbeach and the Beis Hamikdash, but rather on the right side of the Mizbeach, which is different than what we learned a couple of days ago, that the animal was between the Ulam and the Mizbeach. Because there we learned the animal was parallel to Mizbeach, it just turned his head. Now you're telling us that the animal was actually on the north side of the Mizbeach, on the right side of the Mizbeach. Says the Gemara. That means the Mizbeach was not on the north side. The Mizbeach itself was on the left side, on the south side, and the kohen and the animals stood on the north side. Now remember, we have a big argument as to where the Mizbeach was positioned. Was it on the left side, or was it sort of in the middle and the left? So it also intersected between the entrance to the courtyard and the Beis Hamikdash itself.
What do you mean by left side? You mean left facing west?
When you're walking into the Beis Hamikdash, straight line is west. Behind you is east. Your right side is north, and your left side is south.
Yeah, south.
Okay. The Tanya we learned, Mani, who is the author of that opinion? Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, that followed Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. The Tanya we learned, Tzafoina Lifnei Hashem. We learned that the north before Hashem, she tzofin kuli pani. You know, Yaakov holds that the entire north side, you draw a line right in the middle of the courtyard, and the entire north side, the entire right side is vacant. There's no mizbeach there. So that's the opinion of Eliezer ben Yaakov. So that's a Eliezer ben Yaakov. And the problem is, what previously we learned that Rabbi Eliezer ben Shimoni. Previously we learned that the author of the Mishnah is actually Rabbi Eliezer ben Shimon, and that the cow was standing between the Mizbeach and the Beis Hamikdash, as if the Mizbeach was not totally left, it was sort of in the center as well. So which one is it? So you might have Kula Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. It's Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. They tani and learn Kibein Hu'ula Mizbeach. It's the animal itself was not literally between the Mizbeach and the Beis Hamikdash, because the Mizbeach didn't exist in front of the entrance of the Beis Hamikdash. It was on the left side, but it was on the right side, but in the area as if it was between Mizbeach and Ulam. If you remember, we learned yesterday, we had an argument as to when you shecht an animal on the north, what's considered north? Is it due north of the Mizbeach, or does it also include the area between the Mizbeach and the Beis Hamikdash? And that's the view of Rabbi Eliezer ben Shimon. So we say yes. we agree with Abelazar and Shimon that area is called north. But where exactly is the Mizbech? We follow Abelazar and Yaakov that it's on the south side, on the left. And the animal was not between the Mizbech and the Beis Hamikdash. The animal was north of the Mizbech, but also west of the Mizbech. But it looked like it was between the Mizbech and the Beis Hamikdash. But physically, there was no Mizbech there. Okay. Hasgan be'yaminoi. This gan was on the right side. And the head of every day there was another family of Kohanim working. There were 6 families. The head of the family of that particular day was the one who was on the left side of the Kohen Gadol. Generally speaking, if you walk on the right side of your teacher, you're an ignoramus, because it's totally disrespectful. It's as if you're saying, I am equal to my teacher. Says the Gemara Tanam, we learned. So how do you explain our Mishnah? It says, has Gan b'yaminai. This Gan, the deputy, is on the right side of the Kohen Gadol. The Rosh base of the Ismail and the head of the family is on the left side. How can that be? You just said that if you walk on the right side of your teacher, you're a boor. Furthermore, Tanya, we learned. 3 people are traveling on the road. Harav be'emsa, the teacher is in the middle. Godel b'yaminai, the greater students on the right side, and the cotton b'smaila, and the student, which is sort of minor, is on the left side. And we bring a proof. The 3 malachim that came to visit Avram, Shavuos Avram, Michal, who was the greatest, is be'emsa in the middle. Gavriel is b'yamin on the right side, and Rafal b'smaila, that falls on the left side. So you see, so how does that reconcile with that? It says if you walk on the right side of your teacher, you're a boor. And here we have all these other examples where you're supposed to walk on the right side of your teacher. In our Mishnah, the Malachim says, Gemara Taguma Rashmoba Papa Kamed Ravada. So Rashmoba Papa says in the name of Ravada, before Ravada, Kedei Shiiskase Boy Rabbi. He says that you don't actually walk on the side of your teacher, but you walk behind the teacher so that you are covering your Rebbe. That's how it should be. So, so when we say over here that the Kohen Gadol, this Gan was on the right side, didn't mean abreast, it meant behind. Says the Gemara of Tanya, but elsewhere, if you walk in front of your teacher, you're a boor. And if you walk directly behind the teacher, you're considered as if you are a very arrogant person. Says the you're behind your teacher, but you're on a 45-degree angle, diagonally across. So therefore, you're not abreast with him. You're not directly behind him. You're sort of on an angle, so you're protecting him. You're giving him covered, but you're demonstrating that you are secondary compared to your teacher. Okay, the Kalfi, there's a box there with Voshnei Garolas. There's a box and it had 2 pieces there to decide the lottery. Tell me we learned. It says in passing the following. The Nasan Aaron will place Al Shnei Seidim on top of the 2 goats. Goyed. So it says in plural. He will put on the goats in the lottery. Shall call Dover. I don't care what kind of material it is, it doesn't matter. So Yochel, and then the pasuk says, Goydel Echel Hashem, the Goydel Echel Azazel. One Goydel goes to Hashem and one Goydel goes off the cliff. So it starts off in plural 2, and then it designates 1 here and 1 there. So the question is, how do we read it? So first, Yochel, I would have thought, Yitin Shnayim Azeh, Vishnayim Azeh. I would have thought that you should put 2 on this one and 2 on this one. I would say the Torah is saying that you should. The Torah starts off Goyrol in plural, so you should put 2 with the words Chatas Lashem and 2 with the words Azazel. Tamaleim no Goyrol Echel Hashem, the Goyrol Echel Azazel. There's only 1 that says Lashem on it, and there's 1 that says Azazel. Ein kan Lashem Edel Goyrol Echad. The Ein Kan Lazazel El Echad. Each one only has 1. So Yochel, I would have thought, but it still says in plural. So I would have thought Yitin Shal Shem V'Shal Zazazeh, V'Shal Shem V'Shal Zazazeh. I would have thought first put whatever it is, Chatas on one and Azazel on the other, and then swap them and put each one on the other one. And then, as Rashi says, you can choose whichever one you decide to be the Chattas and whichever one should be the Azazel. Taisus doesn't really agree because in that case, the lottery hasn't chosen. You chose. You can choose whatever you want. Then says the Gemara anyway. Tamalemer goydel echad laShem. Ein kan laShem leechad, ein kan laZazel leechad. You only put one, and that one is the Chattas, and one is the Azazel, and you don't swap them. Im kein ma tamalemer goydel. So why is it looking in plural? It starts with put on the goyrolas. Why does it say two? She's shoving. That what it means, goyrolas means that both items that you use to draw the lottery should be exactly identical. If you make, let's say, the Chattas Lashem to be made out of gold, and the other one you make it should be made out of silver, gold, let's say, might be heavier, or the texture is different, and you right away feel which is what. And that's not a lottery. A lottery has to be, they should both be equal, and you have no idea what's what. Or echad gadol, echad cotton, don't make one larger and one smaller. So therefore, that's what the Torah means. They should be identical, and then you choose whatever you get, you get. You can use any material you want. Pshita, obviously, the Torah doesn't tell you what material to use. Obviously, you can use whatever material you want. We need a kirtani, we learned. Because we find by the head plate that the Kohen Gadol wore. Hashem Kosovo, Hashem's name is written on it, Kodesh LaHashem. Well, who shows off? It's made out of gold. Yochanan would have thought, Avzeh Kain. So here also, you're putting LaHashem Chattas, you should make it out of gold. Tamalemer Goydel, Goydel says twice, Goydel. Riba, if the Torah comes to include any material you want. Riba Shalzais, you want to use wood from olive trees. Riba Shalegas, you want to use wood from walnut trees. Or Riba Shalaspero, you want to use wood from these other trees. It doesn't matter. Whatever you use, it should be exactly the same. Ben Kotin, this Kohen Gadol called Ben Kotin, also he donated Shneim also Dod Lakir. He donated, instead of the 2 taps, there should be 12 taps. Why is that? Tana we learned, Kadesh Yishneim also Echav HaKoinim, so that is 12 brethren, the Koinim, who are Sukim B'Tamid, because there are a total of 13 people involved in the Korban Tamid. The first one is the Sheikhet. Because the Yisrael can do that, so even if a Kohen does it, they don't have to wash their hands. So only 12 people have to wash their hands, and he wanted that they should all wash in unison. They all wash their hands in one go. Tana, we learned. Okay. Tana with the Flamet Zayin on off the bottom. Tana, we learned. Shachris b'meluyoy. That we learned that Shachris in the morning, Mekadesh Yodav V'Raglav Min Elyon. The way they did it initially was there was one tap on top. They used the water on top to wash their hands in the morning because the kia was full. But Arvis in the afternoon, when they had to wash their hands again, there was no longer full the kia. They couldn't use the tap on top. Is Mekadesh Yodav V'Raglav Mitach. They had to use the tap that was on the bottom. He also made this wheel, this pulley system. My muchni, what exactly is this muchni? Amar Abai says Gilgal. It was a pulley. It allowed the kiyah to be lowered into the spring. Mumbas Hamelech, this king called Mumbas, also called Yodas. He made all the handles of the vessels. He made them all gold. Now, the question is, what about the vessels themselves? Now, why to make all the vessels gold? Why just the handles? Amar Abai said, we're talking about Yodas Akin, talking about knives. And knives, you don't want a golden knife because it doesn't cut properly. So the knife itself has to be stainless steel, but the handle is made out of gold. So it says you want to make, so ask a question. When they made golden handles, it wasn't limited only to knives. It says, Afu Osa, he also made Kane Kalim, he also made the base for Kalim, and the Oigna Kalim. Oigna Kalim sometimes is the rim around the top of the Kali that you can grip, or on the bottom of the Kali, there's a place you can put your hand to catch a hold of the Kali. And the others Kalim, and also the handles of the Kalim, which sticks out. The Yodas Hakinin and the handles of knives, Shal Yom Kippurim Shal Zav. On Yom Kippur, he made them all gold. So it's clearly we're talking about handles of kalim as well. So why the handles of kalim did he only make the handles gold and not the actual keli? Says the Gemara, Targuma Abaya learns we're talking about Bikitza the Nargi v'chatzini. We're talking about the handles of hatchets and axes, and therefore the same story there. You couldn't have an axe made out of gold; it doesn't work. So therefore, it's only the handle. And other kalim, the kalim themselves were made out of gold. It's only the base and the part where you hold with your hand that was not, because they're on the bottom and doesn't matter. Hilana Imai, Hilana, his mother went, Asasa, she made Nivresha Shazav, she made a golden menorah. Tana, we learned in a brisa, B'shosha Chamaz Erachas, in the morning when the sun begins to rise, the tzaitzes yaitzi menorah, like sparks, rays of light, reflect from it, and then everyone knows she gives ma Krishma. In other words, it's Neitzachama, the sun is beginning to rise, the menorah was high up. So when they saw the rays reflecting from the menorah, they knew it's Neitzachama. Says Gemara Meitz, I'll ask you a question. If somebody reads Shema in the morning, Im Anshe Mishmar, there were people, we're going to learn in Gemara Tainus that every carbon had the Kohanim who were involved. You had the Levim who did the singing, and you had the Yisraelim who were known as the Anshe Mishmar, my mothers. The Anshe, my mothers, were people who used to stand by every carbon and say certain psukim, and they represented Klal Yisrael. So it says as follows. The people, the Kohanim, they would get up really early in the morning, and the Anshe Maimed would come a bit later. So it says if you read Krishma together at the same time that the Kohanim read Krishma, Im Anshe Mishmar, the people got up early to do the service, and you read together with them, you should know that you are not Yotze. And if you join the Anshe Maimed, you're also not Yotze. Why? Anshe Mishmar, the Kohanim, mashkimin. They get up really early. It's too early. They read it, but nobody else can be Yotze. But Anshe Maimed and the Anshe Maimed Ma'achi, they delay it because they wait till the carbon tamid is finished and then they read Krishma. Omar Abaya says, Abaya, L'shar Amad Yibishlayim. We're not talking about the Kohanim or the Israelim, the basic ministry, but all other Yidden who would see the reflection of the rays in the menorah. They knew that now is the time to read Krishma. And you see this long Tosfos, there's a big argument here amongst all the Rishonim. The problem is Abaya says here that everybody should be reading Krishma when they see those rays reflected, which means you should read Krishma after Neitzachama. Abaya, the Gemara Brachas we had, if you know, he says that you should read Krishma before Neitzachama so that you can, it's called Vasikin, so that you can then read Krishma right before Neitzachama, and then as the sun rises, you daven Shemon Esrei, because it says in Pasuk Ucha Im Shemesh that we want you to say Shemon Esrei together with the sun rising. So the question is, when is the ideal time to read Krishma? So big machlek is Rishonim whether Rabbeinu Tam rules you cannot read Krishma before Neitzachama, even though in the Gemara Brachas we learned when you can tell the difference between colors. But the halach is like the Gemara right here, that you should not read Krishma before Neitzachama, you're not even Yotze. If you read before Rabbeinu Tam, the Ri holds that no, that you can, and according to Rabbeinu Tam, the Vasikin in Brachas who read Krishma before Neitzachama did not do the right thing, but they did it because for them, Shemon Esrei was even more important. So they read it then. According to other Rishonim, you can read Krishma from Ba'at from Mudar Shachar, or from where you can distinguish the colors. And Abaye is saying over here, when the reflection comes out, he means around that time, a little bit before, a little bit after. So anyway, in Shulchan Aruch it says the best time ideally to read Krishma is right when there's Neitzachama. And it says in Shulchan Aruch that if you're, in the summer, you should wake up very early, say Krishma, and then go back to sleep. So you can read it. Even though the halach is, according to us, you have a quarter of a day to read Krishma, but the mitzvah min hamuvcher or l'chatchila is to read it by Neitzachama, based on Rabbeinu Tam, based on the Gemara right here, not based on the Gemara Brachas. And this is the beauty of Gemara. If you ask somebody, so what do I do about Krishna? They'll automatically think you'll find everything you need to know about Krishna in Gemara Brachas, because that's where it's discussed. But in fact, this one line in the Gemara Yoma changes the whole halacha around the Gemara Brachas. And that's how Shas works. And that's why it's so important to go through the whole Shas, because you see how there's no subject in Shas that you can say, I have one place, I can cover the whole thing and I'll know it from A to Z, because he won't. There's always something else, somewhere else, a reference that not only is just a minor detail, but it can give you a whole new perspective on the halacha, like right here. Anyway.
What's the situation with going to Vatican, for example, if you go to the Kotel or something like that? Are you Yotze if you say Shema before Hanetz?
Halacha is yes. We don't paskin like Rabbeinu Tam, but we're just saying that ideally the best time to read is right by nights. But yes, halacha is we paskin like the other Rishonim, when you can tell the difference between the colors of green and blue. That's when you can start reading Shema.
What's better to say Shemona Esrei at Hanetz or Shema at Hanetz?
Most Rishonim hold it's Shemona Esrei. It's the most important thing is Shemona Esrei, but those who hold it's actually, I mean, Chanan holds it's Shema that has to be by nights. And when we say that, you should read nights, we're focusing on the Shema, not like most who say we're focusing on Shemona Esrei to be right after nights. Okay, and anyway, Ba'afi also Tama, she made a board. Shabbat we learn out that now what he did was he took his golden board and they wrote a few sentences. We're going to have a whole discussion in Gittin of Samach. Are you permitted to write full psukim on its own? And basically, Gemara there connects, if I remember correctly, connects it to the argument of Yochanan and Shlokish. How was the Torah given to us? The question there is the Torah chasuma nitna or Megillas nitna? Was the Torah given to us from Moshe Rabbeinu at the end of his 40 years? He gave us the whole Torah. Or as he wrote it, he gave it us in bits and pieces, and then later he bound them all together. If you learn he gave it to us in bits and pieces, then you're permitted to write individual psukim, because that's how we received information. But if you learn that Torah chasuma nitna, he gave it to us all in one go, then you're not allowed to write individual psukim. So we're asking a question here that according to the opinion that says you're not allowed to write individual psukim, how did she give us a golden board and they wrote a few psukim of Saita? It's individual psukim. Can't do that. Says Gemara, Shamat, let's learn from here. The Kois and Megillah Tim Islam, are you allowed to write parts of the Torah? Just individual psukim for a kid to learn from. You can't prove me. You know why? The Aleph base. They didn't write the whole pasuk down. They wrote the first letter of each word in the pasuk, and that reminded the kohen exactly what the words are, because they knew more or less the pasuk. So they wrote Rosh Tevis, and that isn't an issue at all. So you can't prove from here you're allowed to write full psukim. Says the Gemara, Mesa asks a question. It says, Kishu Kaisev, when he writes, the kohen, he writes the Megillah to drink, to put into the water for the Saita. Roya, he looks on this tablet. The Kaisev Masha Kosev Betavla. He writes exactly what's written on the tablet. So it does not show that the entire pasuk was written on the tablet, not just the Rosh Tevis. So we say, Amo will say, Roya the Kaisev. He sees and writes Kamosha Kosev Betavla. Not exactly what's in the tablet, but like it's written in the tablet. Because there it's a Rosh Tevis. And when you wrote it out for the Saita, you wrote out the full psukim. So Meisel asks a question. He says another brisa. Kishu Kaisev, when you write it, Roya, he looks the Kaisev Masha Kosev Betavla. He writes he writes what's written in the tabla, and then it says Uma Kosev Betavla, what actually is written in the tabla. So this the brisa now spells it out. The pasuk Im Shochav Ish Oisach. That's one pasuk, and then it goes on, etc. And then did you have adultery? Im loy shachar, did you not? Im shatisa, did you go astray? Im loy shatisa. So the brisa seems to say it gives you the 4 psukim, and it seems that the entire psukim were written. So doesn't that prove you can write individual psukim? So we answer Hasam bisirugin. No, over there again, he only wrote the first 3 words, and the rest was Rosh Tevis. In fact, the Brisa only mentions the first 3 words of every pasuk. because 3 words is not really a problem. It's only 4 words. We have a Gemara Gittin Davav that when you write psukim, you have to make sirtut, you have to make lines there because you're writing a full pasuk. But if you're writing 3 words, it's not considered a pasuk. So they wrote 3 words, and the rest was just Rosh Hashanah. Says the Gemara, we'll go to the Mishnah if that's all right. Can you all hear me, by the way? Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Talk about what we learned. Now we're learning about this guy Nicanor, the doors. What miracles happened to the doors? Amr, they say, when Nicanor went, Lahavi Dalsas, he went to ring doors. Alexandria Shematraim. He traveled to Egypt, to Alexandria, to purchase these beautiful doors for the Beis Hamikdash. When he was traveling to Israel, Omad Olav Nachshel Shebayam. He was threatened by these huge waves, the Tovei, to capsize the ship. So what they did was Notlu Achas man, the people on the ship, the captain, whatever, seized one of the doors, Vitilu and tossed it into the sea. The water did not calm down. They wanted to take the other door and toss it into the sea as well. Omadhu v'karcha, he wrapped himself around the door, and Amalami said to them, Hatiluni ima, if you want to throw the door into the sea, throw me with it. As soon as he said that, and he was prepared to be moist and nefesh for the doors of the Beis Hamikdash, the water calmed down. And it bothered him, the other door went missing. When they came to the port of Akku, suddenly they realized that the other door actually clung to the bottom of the ship. And when they stopped at the port, the doors sort of eased out, and he found the other door. So now the Taisus Yishanim says over here, what happened here? Why he was doing such a wonderful thing? Why was there such a hurricane or a cyclone, whatever, and threatened the viability of the ship? So he said that some people want to say because they went to Egypt. The Torah says in Parsha Shoftim that you're not allowed to travel to Egypt, and therefore he was punished because he went to Egypt to buy these doors. Says Taisus Yishanim that that's not the problem at all, because you're allowed, even though the Torah says don't go and reside in Egypt, but you're allowed to go there for business. And he went there purely for business. And we'll have the next few days. They went to Egypt to buy to find skilled craftsmen and all that. So if you go for business, you're allowed to. Why it happened, we don't know. So all the Rishonim ask over here, since they're talking about going to Egypt, they ask, so how did the Rambam, the Ritva right here, asks, so how did the Rambam live in Egypt? If you're not permitted to reside in Egypt, you're only allowed to go there for business. How did the Rambam live there? So Rab Kapach, the Kaftor Perach said that he knew a grandson of the Rambam, I think it was Shmuel, and the grandson told him that the Rambam used to sign all of his letters, Ani Moshe ben Maimon, Ha'oiver al Gimel Aved Lavin B'chol Yom V'Yom. I am the Rambam who's committing 3 sins every day while I'm living in Egypt. And the Kaftor Perach says, I don't believe it, because he was allowed to. He went there because he was a doctor, and so maybe that's considered business, or because he had no choice. But the Ritva then comes up with a couple of interesting answers. One is, he says the prohibition of going to Egypt is only if you travel from Israel to Egypt. But if you're traveling from another country to Egypt, there's no Avera. So therefore, the Rambam didn't go to Egypt from Israel, he went from Spain. So he was allowed to. That's number one. Another answer gives us, furthermore, maybe even from Israel to Egypt, you're only prohibited if you travel the same direction, or you travel through the wilderness. From Israel, Midbar, Egypt. Furthermore, he says, maybe it's only if you travel the exact same route that the Bnei Yisrael traveled on when they went from Egypt to Israel. And the Torah says, don't travel by derech hazeh. Don't go back the same way. But if you go to Egypt from Israel, a different direction, then maybe you're all right. So there's a whole discussion. Others want to say that the Egyptians today are no longer the Egyptians of then because Sancheiriv. Others dismiss that altogether because Tanakh it says that Egypt in 40 years they will come back. Others say that the cities that the Torah talks about have all been destroyed, and these are new cities, and therefore it's not a problem. Or new cities and the people might have changed, or whatever. So it's an interesting discussion. And let's just go to the Mishnah.
Why do they only ask the question about the Rambam? Why not ask for hundred generations of Jews who lived in Bavel, lived everywhere? Why just about the Rambam?
What's the problem with Bavel? What's the problem with Bavel? It's only Mitzrayim.
Only Mitzrayim, not talking about.
Now the Torah says, like see from the it's Pasha Shaitan says a king shouldn't go, whatever, because you're not allowed to go back to Mitzrayim by this way.
Only about Mitzrayim like that.
Now, in Tanakh, we know in the times of Yirmiyah that false Novi told them all to go to Mitzrayim and they'll be taken care of. And in fact, they were punished. They were all killed out. In fact, we're learning about Sukkah, that the big show Alexandria, they all was in Egypt and they were all killed out because they lived in Egypt. Okay, says Gemara further. The Yesh Aimim, others say that what happened was that Birya Shebiyam Bilata, there was some fish or some animal, some sea mammal that swallowed the door and then brought it to the shore. The Kiyos and the Yabosha and then spat it out on the shore. And regarding this, Shlomo says, Koiras Batenu Arozim, that the beams of our Beis Hamikdash are like cedar trees, Rahitnu Beroisim. And they ran like Baroisim. What do you mean Baroisim? I'll take a Baroisim El Brisiam. There's some kind of a bond with Biriasiam, some kind of creature in the water that brought us the Kailas Batenu, that brought us our door. The Ficha, therefore, Kol Hasha Odim Shemidish, all the gates, all the doors of the Beis Hamikdash, Nishtanu Lieshel Zav, they all became gold. Chutz, when they became wealthier, Chutz Mishar and Nikanor, except the gate. This is the main entrance to the Beis Hamikdash. To go, if you're coming from the Ezras Nashim and you're walking, you're making a way to the Beis Hamikdash, the main entrance was Shar Nikanor. And they left that exactly in the same state that he brought it. They didn't go plane it, nothing. Because so many miracles occurred with it, and they felt that this was a testament to the devotion of a Yid. The Yesh Aimim, others say, another reason is its copper was so brilliant, it was like gold. Rabbi Yaakov says that Nechaish's Kalonisa, it was so refined, and so therefore it was lustrous, it was so illuminated, just like gold. Okay, that finishes Tegmar. I'm sorry for my voice.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, we'll see you all in Mitzvah Hashem.